Hi everybody, I'm Brandon Gustafson. I own and operate two assisted living facilities, and I created this channel to help people like you learn the ins and outs of investing in assisted living. Welcome to Assisted Living Investing. In our last video, we talked about a day in the life of an assisted living operator. What's it like to be an operator, and how do you handle those things, and what do you need to do? So go ahead and watch that video and kind of get an overview of what that is like. Today we're going to be getting into how do you find and hire an assisted living facility administrator. This is probably one of the questions I get most frequently. How do you go and how do you find that facility administrator? What's that process like? So the first thing I would say is state databases, actually. So if you do an internet search for something like list of licensed assisted living administrators in this state, in Utah, in Idaho, in Colorado, in California, or whatever, you are going to be able to find an awesome resource. So I did this actually just last night for the state of Utah. I did that search, and when I did that, what I found was a resource, and it had this Excel file in it for all of the licensed healthcare facilities in the entire state of Utah. So it's a big, long Excel file, and in that it had a lot of fields in there, but one of them was provider type. So it said, this is the provider type, and it could be a skilled nursing facility, it could be a hospital, it could be a podiatrist or whatever, but they have a spot for assisted living facilities. And then on there, it has who the facility administrator is, what that person's name is, and then also has that person's contact information, email, and phone number. So right there, that's a list of all of the licensed facility administrators, the active ones in your state. And I'm not telling you to try and go and poach different administrators, but if you were to send out an email blast to them and say, hey, I'm a new assisted living facility in Salt Lake City, and I'm looking for a new administrator. Is this something that you have somebody in your network that would be interested in this position? Something like that. I would probably keep it at that level. I wouldn't ask them specifically to tell me if they were interested in a position. I would say, hey, I'm looking for this. Do you have anybody in your network that might be a good fit for this? We're a small facility, we're 10 beds, and we're trying to find a good administrator for our facility. And if they are that person, they'll tell you. But they might just think, here's, the Johnny, Sally, these people I think would be great fit. This is exactly what they're looking for. So use that as another resource for yourself. So you can use that list database for you to start reaching out to those licensed administrators and to ask them if they're open to a new facility. Just start having that conversation. If they know anybody in their network that would be interested in the opportunity, obviously that can be a pretty time-intensive process, a time-intensive method, but it's also going to be a great resource as you are just kind of getting started in the industry, to use that as a resource to start having a conversation and see where it goes from there. Second resource for you is local Facebook groups or other networking groups like trade organizations or things like that. So national Facebook groups, you're probably a part of them. They're not going to be great for getting that type of advice. They're excellent at giving you general advice and answering questions and kind of building relationships with other owners and things like that throughout the country. It's a great resource for that. But if you need to get into something that's really specific, you're looking for an administrator in your region. I've also seen posts on some of those where it's like, hey, I'm trying to fill a bed in my facility. Doing that at that really high level, you're just not going to see a lot of interaction. You're not going to get a lot of help there. It's just not going to happen. You need to find more specific, region-specific, local Facebook groups. If you can find them, they're a great resource. If there isn't one, I would suggest starting one. I think you could probably build a pretty robust Facebook group in areas where you're at. So in Idaho, for example, we found just an excellent Facebook group that was centered on senior care in the state. And I think I've mentioned this several times in past videos, but many of the providers and even suppliers are a part of that group, and there's really good conversation. And when there's a bed open or somebody's looking for a Medicaid bed or a private pay bed, or you have a job posting or whatever, they are excellent resources to go in and ask those questions. And you can even ask kind of more general questions to those groups, and they're going to give you specific advice in your area, what you can expect. And that's how we found our administrator in Idaho. I posted that job on that Facebook group and had 10 people say, I'm interested, hand me a resume, and set up conversations there to start the process of hiring an administrator. So if you can find it, excellent resource. I'd also recommend, as you're getting started in this process, create that type of a Facebook group, because it's gonna be extremely valuable for you as you get things up and running. It's also likely that in your state or in your region, there's going to be some kind of a trade organization that you could join, like the local chapter of AHCA and NCAL. You can go and see them at their website is ahcancal.org. So you can go to their website there. It's a trade organization that's kind of around senior care and assisted living and things like that. So I would suggest just kind of going, and I'm not going to do an in-depth overview of their organization and their website. You can go and look at that yourself. But by joining and getting involved with those local chapters of those larger national organizations, it's going to allow you to start doing some networking and getting involved with people in the industry. And oftentimes those local chapters will have things like a job board where you could post a job opening and use that to kind of springboard your search into finding an administrator. Through those conversations, you might even find people that have past administrators that they've worked with, or that they would be willing to kind of work with you in that process. It's also possible that there are just local networking groups apart from those local chapters and national organizations. So doing an internet search for something like assisted living networking group in my state could start you down the path of finding a group that could be helpful to you in finding that person. And if you're going the route of a networking group, whether it's in Facebook or a trade organization or something like that, the other thing I would just encourage you to do is make sure you are a valuable member. Don't suck everybody else's energy. Make sure that you're adding value to the group and having conversations with you. You want to build those relationships and maintain those relationships so that people are happy to work with you and happy to help you out as you are, if you ever had to find an administrator again in the future, or if you're trying to fill a bed or something like that. You want to build those relationships so that there's trust ingrained in them, so that you can then progress more as you go forward. Now the third way is to just kind of post a general job on a job board and see what happens. So you can always resort to posting that on a job board. We found Indeed and Simply Hired to be pretty useful in hiring our caregivers. I've not had to use it for finding an administrator, but a lot of administrators are out there kind of posting jobs on those websites, and so they are on them quite frequently. And so I think you'd have some success if you were to use one of those types of virtual job boards. If you end up using one of those virtual job boards, I would also suggest that you use paid ads to get more people to see your job posting. There's just so many postings on those types of websites that it's very easy for your job posting to just get lost in the shuffle. So it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but they're not horrible. You can set a limit for how much money you want to spend per day on the ads. So say that, I want to spend $5 per day on ads, or $10 or whatever it is. And they kind of give you a breakdown of what that looks like and the type of exposure you're getting for that amount of money. So that would be another suggestion there, is to use a job board and use paid ads to get your position to the point that people can actually see it on there. And the fourth reason is to talk to existing owners. If you're purchasing an existing facility, then ask the current owner if their administrator is willing to stay on through the transition. I talked about this in a previous video. I'll link it up here. But that's one of the reasons why you want to maintain that relationship with the previous owner. Is they might have, if they're not the current owner and they have an administrator, that person might want to stay on through the transition, and that's excellent. If they are the current owner and they were also the facility administrator, and that's why they're getting out, don't want to do it anymore, then I would ask them if any of their current staff would be interested in or capable. You want to make sure they're capable as well. But if anybody, at the facility is interested in becoming that facility administrator, and if not, are they aware of somebody in their network or even a past employee who might be a good facility administrator? They've been working in the industry for a while now, and they probably have built up some relationships. So ask them and see if they could help you out with that. Now, next time, we're going to get into how much I should pay my assisted living facility administrator. I get that question often. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, how you can set that expectation for what pay is going to look like. And we'll really dive into that. Learn more about investing in assisted living, please make sure you visit assistedlivinginvesting.net. I'd love to see you over there. We've got other content and working on setting up a way for us to do some consulting calls. I'd love to have a conversation with you and help you through the process as you are trying to get into assisted living investing. And also follow me on all my other social media platforms. And remember, it doesn't take a lot. It's just a little bit. If you keep making that progress step by step, you're going to be successful. Thanks for watching and have a great day.